Heartwarming revelation: single mother discovers billionaire is the father of her amazing 10-year-old son. On a brisk autumn afternoon, with the golden leaves fluttering like memories in the wind, Sarah felt the weight of the world press heavily against her shoulders. The sun slanted through the trees, casting warm light on her small home, a place she fought for fiercely. Her 10-year-old son, Ethan, burst through the door, his bright eyes shining with excitement. His coding projects a fascinating escape from their harsh reality. Yet, outside these walls, whispers swirled, whispers that Sarah couldn't escape. At a community coffee gathering, the air thick with laughter, she overheard Mrs. Jenkins' cutting comment, "If she just worked a little harder, maybe she wouldn't be in this mess." The words pierced through Sarah like glass, igniting a fire within her. Could they see her burnt-out shoes, the night spent balancing trays as customers often butted heads with her expectations? Every dollar mattered, every decision monumental. Yet, here she was, working 2 jobs and navigating her son's needs. Why couldn't they see her struggle for the American dream? Back in school, Ethan tussled with his own narrative, a talented coder in a class where envy often masked admiration. The excitement of creation flickered in his heart, but the teasing dug deep, planting seeds of doubt. He often came home, chin up, but with shadows dancing behind his bright smile. They were a duo, fighting for each other in a harsh world, unaware that their fates were about to intertwine with someone extraordinary. Jack, a reclusive billionaire who once played in these very streets, had started to notice Ethan's talents from a distance. He'd grown up in humble beginnings, yet the pressure of wealth twisted his values. He wanted to stay hidden, yet he felt the pull of Ethan's genius. A friendship began to blossom through school fundraisers, shared laughs, and local events, forming a bond that transcended financial borders. Before we continue, Sarah thought to herself as she prepared her order, "I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue." As the bonds tightened, laughter echoed through their homes, and vulnerability blossomed into trust. Then, rain fell one evening, and Sarah was invited on a tour of Jack's high-tech mansion. It was a world away, a foreign landscape of luxury and forgotten memories. And there, amidst the sleek walls, she stumbled upon a treasure, old photographs capturing the essence of Jack's humble origins, his story enmeshed with hers more than she could comprehend. In one poignant photo, a familiar face caught her breath. A young Jack, bright-eyed, standing with a young boy who looked strikingly similar to Ethan. Panic gripped her heart. Was this a cruel twist of fate? As it all came crashing down, the weight of the revelation settled over her, a painful realization that Jack was not just any mentor, he was Ethan's father. Confusion and heartache erupted within her. The lines between love, family, and opportunity blurred, leaving her standing at a crossroads. How could she reconcile the life they built with the untold riches that beckoned? With the community's watchful eyes, Sarah faced the decision that could change everything. Would she embrace the chance to redefine their future or hold on to the lessons of love and authenticity? The precipice of change hung in the air, leaving her heart racing and questions unanswered. As she looked at the smiling faces surrounding her and the unearthed truth, she knew one thing: everything was changed forever. Sarah stood frozen in the grandeur of Jack's mansion, the pictures swirling in her mind like the autumn leaves outside. Each photograph held a memory, a glimpse of a simpler time that now felt distant, like the two worlds that were now colliding around her. She could barely draw a breath. Jack was Ethan's father. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a desperate drum. How could she tell Ethan? With so much wrapped in innocence, how could she explain that his mentor was also part of his very foundation? Would he feel excitement, confusion, or betrayal? The thought sent her spiraling into a whirlwind of anxiety. Jack stepped closer, his brows furrowed in concern. "Sarah, are you all right?" She forced a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. "Yeah, just a lot to take in." Her voice trembled slightly as she tried to keep the facade of composure. "Let us sit," Jack suggested, leading her to a plush sofa that felt too luxurious for her. She sank into it, feeling the softness envelop her, contrasting sharply with the tumult in her heart. He joined her, his presence as commanding as it was comforting. "Those photos," she started, desperately seeking a way to express her fluttering thoughts without revealing everything. "Your past, it's so rich. You've come a long way. Sometimes, I think that the past is what shapes us, even if we try to run from it." Jack's gaze softened, and for a moment, Sarah caught a glimpse of the boy he used to be, someone who also understood struggle. "I wanted to give Ethan the opportunities one never had." Sarah's heart ached at his sincerity. It was apparent that Jack meant every word. But how could she reconcile her feelings for him with the truth looming over them? Should she allow him to step into Ethan's life as a father? The gleam of potential in his eyes stirred something deep within her, a part that longed for stability and belonging. "What happens now?" she finally asked, the weight of her question pressing heavily between them. "We can take it slow," he replied gently. "I can support you both, but I want it to be your decision. It's your life, your home." A small spark of hope ignited within her, one that battled against years of independence and hard-fought resilience. The dream of a secure future for Ethan had always seemed unattainable. But could Jack help her achieve it without compromising their bond? But what if Sarah stumbled, her voice wavering with the weight of potential heartbreak. "What if he doesn't want this?" Jack's expression grew serious. "Then we respect his wishes. But it might help him to know he's not alone. He has family, a father who believes in him." The very thought sent a shiver down her spine. Family. Was this what it meant to redefine everything? Could she truly embrace the chaos of emotions laid bare before them? Outside, the rain began to lighten, its rhythm soothing the tension in the room. For a moment, they sat in silence, two people at the brink of something extraordinary, yet still tethered to their fears. With renewed determination, Sarah took a deep breath. "Let us just start with honesty. We'll tell him together." The resolve in her voice flattened the chaos in her heart. As Jack nodded with approval, that spark of hope flared brighter, illuminating the path ahead. But as they sat together, a distant rumble echoed, a tumultuous sign that more storms were brewing on the horizon, ready to challenge their newfound alliance. What would happen when the truth finally broke free? Sarah took a moment to gather her thoughts. The hushed air between her and Jack buzzed with unspoken words. She could feel the weight of the world resting heavily on her shoulders. A million thoughts dashed through her mind, each one more chaotic than the last. How would Ethan react? Would the news shatter the solid ground they had built together? "What do we tell Ethan?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if saying it out loud would make it inevitable. Jack ran a hand through his hair, a small gesture that surprised her with its familiarity. "We tell him the truth," he said, his tone decisive yet gentle. "We start there. No secrets, no lies." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. It was a comforting notion, but also terrifying. It meant openly confronting feelings they had both danced around for so long. And what if he's angry? What if he feels betrayed? "We can't control how he feels," Jack replied, his eyes fixed on hers, full of determination. "But we can control how we love him. No matter what, he's our priority now. He needs to know he's not alone. That he has us." The power in his words resonated with her. She felt a flicker of hope, one that was interspersed with doubt. "I want him to know he's loved. That's all I ever wanted for him." Jack nodded, his expression softening. "Then we fight for that. Together." A sudden wave of emotion crashed over Sarah. She had never imagined she would find herself here, sharing such profound intimacy with Jack, not just as a secret keeper but as a partner, a companion who might actually stand beside her. But the reality of hurdles still loomed like a shadow above them. What if we mess up? She admitted, her voice thick with concern. What if this doesn't work? We'll figure it out as we go, Jack said, placing a reassuring hand over hers. The warmth of his touch ignited something deep inside her, a flicker of trust. We're in uncharted territory, but we won't be alone. We'll have each other. In that moment, sitting there, she realized she'd been waiting for this kind of assurance for so long. It wasn't just Jack's confidence that buoyed her, it was the connection they shared, the understanding that they would face whatever came next together. As the rain outside turned into a gentle drizzle, Sarah tried to envision Ethan's smile when they shared the news. Would his eyes widen in surprise? Would he embrace the change or recoil from it? Her stomach twisted with uncertainty, and she steeled herself, readying for the moment that would change their lives forever. What if he needs time to process it all? She asked, chewing softly on her lower lip. He will. But he'll also see that we're here for him, Jack replied firmly. That's what family is. Family. The word held a weight she hadn't been prepared for. It was daunting yet magnificent all at once. They could build something beautiful together if they were brave enough. Just then, the sound of a door creaking open echoed through the mansion. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The stirring of a new life in the room grew palpable, and she instinctively squeezed Jack's hand. They both turned as Ethan appeared, his face lit with curiosity and the hint of a smile that always made her heart swell. But moments like this often revealed more questions than answers. Mom? Jack? He called out, his voice breaking through the tension. What is going on? Sarah looked at Jack, her heart racing. The moment had arrived. How would they navigate this together? What would Ethan say? Just as she prepared to speak, a new wave of uncertainty washed over her. Here it goes, she whispered, ready to dive into the deep end of honesty. But would they all swim together, or would someone sink? As she choked on an unsteady breath, reality loomed ahead. Would they all emerge stronger, or would the tide pull them apart? Ethan shifted his weight from one foot to the other, curiosity etched across his young face. Sarah felt the weight of his gaze, the innocence in his gaze piercing through her protective armor. She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and looked into his eyes, searching for a semblance of courage. Ethan, she started, her voice trembling slightly. There's something important we need to talk about. Something about our family. Jack came closer, his presence a solid reminder that she wasn't alone in this. We want to share something that might change the way you see things, he added, his voice calm, but she could hear the emotion bubbling just beneath the surface. Ethan blinked, his brows knitting together. What do you mean? He asked, glancing between them, an air of confusion settling in. As Sarah looked at her son, she saw the little boy he still was, bright-eyed and trusting. It broke her heart to think of shattering that trust. You know how sometimes families don't look like what we expect? She began, gauging his reaction. Sometimes they're formed in ways we don't understand at first. What do you mean? Ethan repeated, more insistent now. Behind her, Jack gave her an encouraging nod, and that tiny gesture felt like a lifeline. Ethan, she hesitated, but the truth had a way of demanding to be spoken. I want you to know that Jack is your father. The words hung in the air like a struck chord, vibrating with enough force to shake the ground beneath them. Ethan's eyes widened, a mixture of shock and confusion playing across his features. But how? I mean, what do you mean? Time stood still. Sarah's heart raced. You were born, she began to explain, but even as she spoke, she could see him processing it all. He wasn't angry, but the bewilderment was palpable, a storm swirling behind his eyes. Jack knelt down to Ethan's level, his tone softening. "Hey buddy, I know this is a lot to take in. But we love you just the same. Nothing changes that." Ethan looked from Jack to Sarah, searching for more answers more than they had prepared to give in this moment. "So does this mean you and Jack are together? For real?" The child's question pierced Sarah's heart again, packing both hope and fear in one go. "We're trying, Ethan. We're not sure what it looks like yet, but we want to be a family. We're all in this together." His small face flushed with emotions. It was as if he had come to the realization that the universe he thought he knew was about to shift. "What about my friends? Will they understand?" That question sent Sarah's heart into a spiral. She thought of the judgment that came with any change and how it affected children like Ethan. "We can talk to them. We can help you navigate through this." Ethan bit his lip, clearly wrestling with a wave of feelings. "But what if they think it's weird? Or they don't want to play with me anymore?" Jack, always the steady force, jumped in. "Ethan, family is about love, not just what it looks like. Friends will see the love you have and respect that." For a moment, silence wrapped around them as Ethan weighed Jack's words. Sarah's heart broke and mended in the span of seconds. Would this young boy reject them both? Or would he find a way to understand the complexity of family? "What if I need to think about it?" Ethan finally asked, his voice smaller, vulnerable. "Take all the time you need, bud," Sarah replied, hugging him tightly, wishing she could absorb his uncertainty. "We'll be right here, waiting to support you." The moment stretched before them, each breath pulling them closer or pushing them apart. She could see the wheels turning in Ethan's mind, his innocence battling the realities of adult complications. Here they were, standing on the precipice of a new family dynamic, uncertain of where it would lead. As he stepped back, Sarah caught a fresh flicker of hope in his eyes. But that hope was laced with something deeper, a sense of impending change that sent shivers down her spine. "Just know, we're all in this together," Jack echoed with quiet strength. Ethan nodded, but the conflict on his face remained. I think I need a minute," he said, taking a step back, leaving Sarah and Jack standing there as the walls of their newly formed family held their breath. Sarah's heart pounded. Was this only the beginning? Would they all find a way to hold on to each other as life pushed and pulled them in different directions? As Ethan retreated, the silence felt heavier than the rain outside. What had they just begun? And could love truly bridge the gap formed by secrets? Ethan backed up a few steps, the expression on his face evolving from shock into contemplation. It was a sight that tugged at Sarah's heart, her protective instincts rising at the thought of him grappling with such a big revelation. She wanted to reach out, to pull him back into the warmth of her embrace, but she understood he needed space to process. Jack, sensing the tension, stood up straight and glanced at Sarah, silently asking what they should do. She felt a swell of gratitude for him. He was already proving to be the father Ethan needed, even in this uncertain moment. "Let's take a break," Sarah finally said, breaking the silence that lingered in the room like smoke. "Maybe we can head outside and play for a bit? Clear our heads?" Ethan heard her suggestion but hesitated, his gaze drifting to the window, where raindrops slid down the glass. The world outside seemed cloudy, mirroring the turmoil inside him. I need to think," he murmured. "Thinking is good," Jack replied softly. "You can ask us anything, whenever you're ready." Ethan nodded again but remained rooted in place, a storm of emotions swirling within him. Sarah's instinct was to rush in and reassure him, but now wasn't the time for that. Instead, she respected his need for space, even if it was agonizing to do so. As the minutes ticked by and the air grew thick with unspoken thoughts, Sarah turned to Jack. They exchanged a glance that conveyed all the unsaid worries about Ethan's new reality. They both loved him. But would he be able to embrace this new truth in their lives? "Maybe we should prepare something for dinner," Jack suggested quietly, the casual idea wrapping around them like a shield against the tension. A little family meal might ease the mood. Yeah, but what do we even cook? She replied, her mind racing with past dinners that felt so simple yet seemed monumental now. Mac and cheese? He ventured, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Everybody likes that. Sarah chuckled softly. You can't go wrong with that. It's like comfort food in a bowl. They shared a moment of lightness, a tiny island of hope amidst the turbulence of emotions swirling around them. It was small, but it mattered. They had to start building their new family one small moment at a time. As they moved into the kitchen, the sounds of pots clanging and macaroni boiling became their shared distraction. Yet thoughts of Ethan lingered between them like an unfinished puzzle. Suddenly, the sound of the front door creaking open pulled their attention back. Ethan stood there, dressed in his favorite Superman pajamas, a slight frown accentuating the otherwise familiar features of his face. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice softer and more tentative than before. "Of course," Jack replied, a rush of relief washing over him. "How about you help me stir the cheese sauce?" Something shifted in Ethan's posture, as if the very act of being included in this small moment had lightened some of his burden. "Okay," he said, moving slowly toward them, uncertainty still flickering in his eyes but now muted by curiosity. Sarah felt the knot in her heart loosen just a bit. This was a bridge, a small connection back to the warmth they wanted to create as a family. As they cooked together, laughter gradually filled the space, a heartbeat inching closer to healing. The kitchen became their haven, and in that moment, Sarah could see glimmers of acceptance within Ethan's guarded gaze. Love, she realized, was going to take work, but it was love, nonetheless. As they sat down together to share their simple dinner, Ethan looked between them, and for the first time since the revelation, a hint of a smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "What if my friends really don't understand?" he finally asked, his voice low as he fidgeted with his fork. Jack and Sarah exchanged glances. Each of them had the same thought, what if they did? But that would be a question for another day. For now, they held on to this moment, a step forward into the unknown. Could love really hold them together as they stepped bravely into a world that might not always understand? Ethan sat at the table, the aroma of melted cheese and buttery noodles swirling around him. The familiar scent felt comforting, grounding him amidst the chaos of his thoughts. His hands fiddled with the edge of the tablecloth, while he stole glances at his mom and Jack, who were happily chatting about the best ways to add more flavor to their dinner. "Maybe we should throw in some bacon bits," Jack suggested, grinning. "Only if you want to turn this into a heart attack in a bowl." Sarah shot back playfully. He laughed as she bumped his shoulder with hers. Watching them, Ethan felt a flicker of warmth in his chest. Laughter was something he hadn't anticipated after what they had just learned about his father. He opened his mouth to join in, but the words caught in his throat. What if his laugh was too loud? What if they looked at him differently once he let himself smile? As if sensing his struggle, Sarah's gaze landed on him. "Ethan, how about you taste it? Is it cheesy enough?" she asked, a gentle encouragement in her voice. He nodded slowly, picking up his fork. It felt heavy as he took a small bite, allowing the creamy goodness to melt on his tongue. A smile broke through, unreserved and genuine. "It's really good," he exclaimed, and suddenly laughter bounced around the kitchen. Jack clapped him on the back, and for a moment, all doubt seemed to dissolve into thin air. But fleeting as it was, the laughter ebbed. The truth still loomed, dark and daunting. "I think I'm going to tell my friend Kyle," Ethan said more boldly, surprising even himself. "I guess I have to." Both Jack and Sarah exchanged a quick look, the gravity of his statement sinking in. "You don't have to do it alone," Jack offered, his tone serious now. "You can talk to us about anything, Ethan, for as long as it takes." Ethan glanced down again, the unexpected weight of vulnerability resting on his shoulders. "But what if he laughs at me?" Sarah reached across the table, her hand finding his. Her grip was warm, solid. "You're so brave for even considering talking to him. That takes strength. The right friends will support you. Anyone who isn't worth your time." Ethan looked up, searching for reassurance in her eyes. He saw only love reflected back. Could it be true? Was he already worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet? After a moment, he whispered, "What if they don't understand why I was kept a secret?" Jack leaned in, his voice steady. "Sometimes, people don't understand what they can't see. But that doesn't mean you should hide who you are. Sharing your truth is powerful, Ethan." As they finished dinner, a sense of cautious optimism began to weave its way through them, slowly stitching together the threads of their familial bond. Worries were still there. But for now, they had each other, creating a bubble of love that weakened the doubts. Later on, as they helped each other clean up, Ethan murmured, "Thanks for doing this, both of you." Sarah interrupted, "You don't ever have to thank us, remember? We're a team." "Yeah," Jack added, "whatever you need, no matter what, we're here." Their words were like sturdy buildings, rising above turbulent waters. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to feel hope not just for today, but for tomorrow too. Just then, a sudden thought hit him. What was he going to tell Kyle when he saw him? Would he have the courage to share his truth? As he pondered the possibilities, he realized he had a journey ahead. One where he would learn more about himself, and maybe even explore what it meant to truly be part of a family. The kitchen podcast played softly in the background, their laughter echoing like music. It was all felt so right, yet so new. What if the world outside was more accepting than he thought? With that tiny spark of courage, he vowed to figure it out. But there remained one question, one that lingered like an unanswered prayer. What if the truth was scarier than he could ever imagine? Ethan tossed and turned in bed, the soft glow of his nightlight illuminating the shadows dancing across the walls. The comforting embrace of his comforter couldn't shield him from the storm brewing inside. He stared at the ceiling, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in a fall breeze. Sharing his truth with Kyle felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure of how deep the water below was. A soft knock echoed from the other side of his door. "Hey, buddy, can I come in?" It was Jack. "Yeah, sure," Ethan replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Jack entered, leaning against the doorframe. "You all right? Can't sleep?" Ethan shrugged, trying to hide the turmoil he felt inside. Jack took a few steps closer, his expression shifting from casual to concerned. "Wanna talk about it?" With a sigh, Ethan pushed himself up to sit against the headboard. "Just thinking about everything. About Dad. And tomorrow. What if he doesn't understand the whole secret thing?" Jack sat down on the edge of the bed, his demeanor calm and steady. "I get it. You're standing on uncertain ground. I felt the same way the first time I opened up about things. It's scary, but remember you said the right friends will support me, right?" Ethan interrupted, echoing his mom's words from earlier that evening. "Exactly. And if Kyle is your friend, he'll want to understand you. It matters to him, trust me. If it was me, I'd want you to share everything." Jack's voice softened, sincerity pouring through. "I wouldn't laugh at you. I'd be proud of you for being brave." Ethan looked down at his hands, the way his fingers fidgeted revealing more than he wanted. "What if he thinks I'm weird? Or that I'm some kind of mistake? That's not true. Listen, you are not a mistake, Ethan. You're a part of our family now, and you fit perfectly where you're supposed to be." Jack leaned in closer, making eye contact. "We're not hiding you away. You're one of us. The more open you are, the more people can connect with you." Those words struck a chord within him. He felt the warmth from the kitchen dinner slip into this quiet moment. Maybe Jack was right. Maybe reaching out could bend the space between fear and acceptance. What if it goes wrong? He asked, heart racing at the thought. Then it does, Jack said simply. You can't predict how people will react. But you can control how you'll respond. You'll learn from it, no matter what. And we will be here, right at your side. Ethan took a deep breath, a sense of calm washing over him. He felt the fear slowly transforming into responsibility, not just for himself but for the friendship he cherished with Kyle. It was then he realized he didn't want to wait any longer. I think, maybe I will tell him. The words felt lighter, freeing him from the shackles of doubt that had weighed him down for too long. Jack's smile spread like sunrise, reaching the edges of his eyes. That's the spirit. And hey, don't forget, if you want me there for moral support, just say the word. Thanks, Jack. Ethan smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly, a flicker of that earlier warmth returning. As Jack stood up to leave, his demeanor shifted back to playful. Also, just a heads up, I expect to be the favorite uncle once this goes down. Ethan laughed, feeling a rush of lightness. Yeah, right. When Jack closed the door behind him, a wave of mixed emotions washed over Ethan. The heaviness was still present, but along with it was the realization that he had support. With a heart half anxious and half eager, he nestled deeper into his covers and closed his eyes, letting the soft hum of the podcast fill the silence. The journey he was about to take felt monumental. What if Kyle's reaction wasn't just acceptance? What if it changed everything? With the uncertainty of what the next day would hold, he ventured into sleep, knowing one thing for sure: courage was not the absence of fear, it was the embrace of it. Ethan woke up the next morning with the sun already spilling warm rays into his room. It was a new day, and with it came the heaviness of anticipation. The remnants of last night's conversation with Jack still echoed in his mind, filling him with both hope and dread. Today was the day he would talk to Kyle, and as he swung his legs over the side of the bed, he felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He moved through his morning routine mechanically, brushing his teeth and splashing water on his face, but his mind was racing. What would he say? The simplicity of his words felt enormous, and he struggled to frame the thoughts spiraling through his head. Just be honest. Just say it out loud. As Ethan got dressed, he tried to focus on the encouraging thoughts Jack had shared. He brushed his hand over the fabric of his favorite shirt, a worn navy blue that felt familiar and comforting. It reminded him of countless moments spent laughing and talking with Kyle. Maybe that connection could hold strong, even if he laid bare the struggles he carried. When he finally made his way downstairs, the smell of pancakes filled the air. The house was alive with the sounds of his family. Jack was already at the table, flipping through a comic book, while their mom hummed while she cooked. The rich aroma tugged at his stomach, a welcome distraction, though he found it hard to push away the gnawing in his gut. Hey, man. Ready for the big day? Jack grinned as Ethan sat down. His brother's enthusiasm was infectious, doing little to ease Ethan's nerves but reminding him that he wasn't alone. Yeah, I guess, Ethan replied, picking at his food. Want me to come with you? Jack asked, his expression shifting to concern. Ethan shook his head. No, I think I need to do this by myself. But maybe wait for me to text you? Absolutely. You know I'm right here if you need anything. Jack offered a reassuring nod, and that small gesture made Ethan feel a little stronger. After breakfast, he grabbed his backpack and stepped outside. The air was crisp, a slight breeze nudging him along as he made his way toward the park where Kyle often met him. Each step felt heavier than the last, his mind running through every possible scenario. Would Kyle be supportive, or would he turn away? Would this be the moment that shattered their friendship, or would it deepen their bond? The park came into view, and with it the familiar sounds of laughter and chatter. Ethan paused just beyond the entrance, uncertainty gripping him once more. He spotted Kyle sitting on a bench, scrolling through his phone, his brown hair catching the light, and for a moment, Ethan was struck by how ordinary that scene felt. Taking a deep breath, he moved forward, each step a mixture of dread and excitement. As he approached, Kyle looked up, a smile breaking across his face that made Ethan's heart leap. "Hey! You're right on time. Are you ready for another round of our epic soccer matches?" Kyle joked, bouncing a soccer ball at his feet. Ethan chuckled lightly but felt the anxiety bubbling up inside him. "Actually, I was hoping we could talk about something important." Kyle's smile faded a bit, replaced by a look of curiosity. "Sure. What's up?" This was it. Ethan had reached the edge of the cliff, and he was about to take the leap. He felt his heart beat louder, the words struggling to surface. "It's about me, about who I am." Kyle tilted his head, concern lining his features. "What do you mean?" Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but the moment felt fragile, like a glass teetering on the edge of a table. He could either shatter it or find a way to balance it. With his stomach churning and the weight of silence pressing in, he steadied himself. "I'm not who you think I am." The words hung in the air, thick with meaning and possibility. In that moment, surrounded by the soft sounds of the park, Ethan knew that whatever happened next would change everything. Would Kyle see him for who he really was, or would he turn away? As Ethan prepared for Kyle's response, he felt the reality of his truth pouring out. And right then, he understood that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with courage, vulnerability, and friendship that could grow even deeper. But what would Kyle say next? Kyle's eyebrows furrowed, and the smile vanished from his face. There was a hesitation in his gaze, as if he was trying to process the weight of Ethan's words. The soccer ball rolled to a stop at Kyle's feet, echoing the sudden stillness that enveloped them both. "What do you mean, Ethan?" he asked, his voice carefully even, but a flicker of concern danced in his eyes. "Are you saying you're hiding something from me?" Ethan felt his heart race, the pressure mounting in his chest. He took a shaky breath to steady himself. "Yeah, kind of. I guess I've just never been fully honest about who I am. There's more to me than you know." Kyle leaned in a bit, as if drawing closer could bridge the distance that felt so vast now. "Okay, just tell me," he encouraged gently. "You can trust me." Ethan's mind swirled with fear and hope. Each word felt sticky on his tongue. I've been trying to figure out how to say this for a long time. I'm gay, Kyle. I've struggled with it, and I wasn't sure how to tell you or if you'd understand." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan's eyes darted around the park, searching for any distraction from the weight of Kyle's expression. He wished he could just take it back, run away, hide somewhere until everything felt normal again. The laughter of children nearby felt far away, as if it were happening on another planet where his fears didn't exist. Finally, Kyle shifted, breaking the quiet that felt almost suffocating. "Wow," he paused, searching for the right words, as if he was sifting through the pieces in his mind. "I had no idea." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Are you upset? I understand if you need space. I just didn't want to keep this from you anymore." Kyle shook his head, his expression softening. "No, I'm not upset. Honestly, I'm just surprised. You mean a lot to me, Ethan. I can't believe you've been carrying this alone." The rush of those words infused Ethan with a glimmer of warmth, but the fear lingered. "But what if this changes everything? You might not want to hang out with me anymore." Kyle's gaze met his, steady and sincere. "That's not true at all. You're still the same person I've grown to care about. I mean, I always thought you were cool, and now this doesn't change that." A slight blush crept onto Kyle's face, as he added softly, "It actually makes me admire you more." Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "Really?" "Yeah, really," Kyle said. He chuckled lightly, as if to lighten the mood. "Does this mean I can finally stop wondering why you get all shy around certain guys?" Ethan couldn't help but laugh, the tension easing a little. Maybe just a little. They shared a smile, both of them relieved by the unexpected bond that had deepened in that moment. The conversation felt like a weight-lifting one that Ethan had carried for far too long. Still, a new fear flickered in the back of his mind. But what about other people? What if they don't accept me? What if they treat me differently? Kyle bit his lip, considering Ethan's words. It can be tough, but you've got to be you. Anyone who doesn't accept that isn't worth your time. We'll figure it out together. Ethan felt a swell of gratitude. In that moment, staring into Kyle's unwavering eyes, he understood that love and friendship could bloom, even in the face of fear. Thanks, Ethan said quietly, his heart lighter. Anytime, Kyle replied, thrusting the soccer ball toward Ethan playfully. Now, come on. We have an epic match to play. Ethan laughed, feeling the rush of excitement return. He passed the ball back, and they started kicking it between them, laughter now echoing around the park. But even in that joy, Ethan felt a lingering question in his mind: what would happen when they stepped out into the wider world? As they ran past the trees, Ethan knew the journey wasn't over yet. This was only the start of something much bigger, but was he ready for that? As the weeks passed, Ethan's life began to settle into a new rhythm. Each day unfolded like a page of a story he was no longer afraid to write. He felt lighter, as if the world had shed its heavy cloak. Kyle stood by his side, their friendship evolving into something deeper, one grounded in honesty and trust. At school, Ethan braced himself as he walked through the halls, a wave of butterflies stirring in his stomach. He had shared his truth, and while he had faced whispers from some students, a surprising number rallied behind him. Friends supported him, impressed by the bravery it took to be authentic. Even Kyle's unwavering friendship solidified into a stronghold against the wind. At home, Sarah and Jack created a livelier, loving haven. Dinner table conversations were filled with laughter, stories, and the occasional playful debate about what to order for pizza. Jack embraced his role as a father, spending time with Ethan coding new video games and even tackling math problems that had once felt insurmountable. Sarah watched with a glowing heart, seeing her son blossoming under the warmth of newfound stability. One evening, as they prepared to watch a movie together, Ethan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. "Thanks for always being there, you guys," he said, taking a moment to meet both of their gazes. Jack grinned, leaning back against the couch. "Well, somebody has to keep you out of trouble." Sarah laughed, her eyes sparkling. "This is a team effort. And you, young man, are the captain of this ship." Feeling bold, Ethan took a deep breath. "Speaking of teams, I've decided to join the school's coding club." Both Jack and Sarah turned to him, curiosity flickering across their faces. "That's fantastic!" Jack exclaimed. "You know it'd be like having a second family, right?" Ethan smiled shyly, but beneath it lay a current of excitement. He hoped his peers admired his coding skills. But as the days passed, he also yearned to inspire others, especially kids who might struggle with their identity like he had. Under the dim light of his bedside lamp, Ethan gathered courage, penning a letter to share with his classmates at the first club meeting. He wanted to explain the importance of acceptance and being true to oneself, just as he had done. The day of the meeting arrived, and Ethan stood before his classmates. The lights dimmed, and he could hear his heartbeat, a steady drum carrying his voice as he shared his journey. He talked about fear, acceptance, and what it meant to be part of a community. When he finished, silence enveloped the room. Then, one by one, hands began to rise, voices expressing everything from solidarity to admiration. Tears brimmed in Ethan's eyes as he realized how many understood him. As the weeks turned into months, they rallied together, creating projects that celebrated diversity within their school. They designed their own games, art, and campaigns, spreading messages of appreciation. The stories of struggle transformed into tales of triumph. And through it all, Ethan found his place not just as someone who belonged in two worlds, but as someone who built bridges. Jack and Sarah cheered him on, basking in the Herculean effort he had poured into creating a safe space. One bright afternoon, while working on a coding project at home, Ethan caught the scent of freshly baked cookies wafting through the air. He wandered into the kitchen, where Sarah and Jack were laughing, flour dusting the table. "Hey, there's our favorite coder," Sarah cooed. Ethan felt a rush of warmth as he plopped onto a stool. "What are you guys up to?" "Cookies and a surprise," Jack said with a grin. "We're going to celebrate you and your club's first project launch tonight." His heart raced as anticipation filled him. They had created this beautiful life together, one founded on honesty, vulnerability, and love. Today had only marked their journey deeper, weaving them tighter as a family. As evening approached, and they gathered around candles glowing softly in the twilight, Ethan beamed. He felt whole, proud of the relationships he had forged. Love and acceptance enveloped him like a cozy blanket. And as they laughed and shared stories that night, Ethan understood that it was merely the beginning, one filled with hope and courage. This had become more than just an end to the struggles of his past, it was the fiery spark of new beginnings yet to come. In those moments, sitting with Jack and Sarah, he realized they were right. Family wasn't just blood. It was the connections forged through vulnerability, laughter, and a promise to stand strong together in the face of whatever life threw their way. As they all cheered the future, their hearts intertwined in that simple yet extraordinary bond, Ethan knew that he would always carry that transformative power within him, the ability to rise, to love, and to fiercely embrace the journey ahead. Now more than ever, love had become the strongest foundation upon which they would build their lives. And for Ethan, that was more than enough, it was everything. So, to all of you out there experiencing challenges, remember this: your story deserves to be told. Stand tall, share your truth, and surround yourself with those who lift you up. Because your journey can inspire others, just like Ethan's did. But remember, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that could change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach even more hearts. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Because together, we can build a community centered on love and acceptance.